Hey everybody, it's Rykard here again, back with another black and white Pokemon analysis. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the Deep Earth Pokemon known as Doryuuzu. So let's get started by taking a look at its abilities and its stats. First off, this Pokemon has absolutely amazing typing with the Ground Steel dual type. This makes it very similar to Steelix. Actually, it has the same typing as Steelix, and it pretty much resists a lot of different things. You're immune to poison and electric type moves. The only things you have to worry about are ground, fighting, water, and fire, but everything else is essentially resisted except for ice and grass. So that's just one of the main perks of this Pokemon. As for its abilities, the first one is known as Sand Throw, which means that Doryuuzu's speed will be doubled when there is a sandstorm in effect. And since it's so easy to set up a sandstorm with having a Tyranitar or a Hippodon lead, Sand Throw is definitely a very useful ability to have that will make this Pokemon very fast. As for its next ability, it's known as Sand Strength, which is also a new ability, and what it does is it increases the power of rock, steel, and ground type moves under a sandstorm. And being a ground and steel type, you'll be able to get stab from two of those moves that Sand Strength increases the power of. So it's a very useful ability if you want to try to do as much damage as possible. As for the last one, it's known as Mold Breaker, and what it does is that it nullifies other Pokemon's abilities, such as Levitate, and I've used that example in all of my videos that involve Mold Breaker, I know, but it's the easiest to explain. Basically, if your opponent has Levitate and you switch in this Mold Breaker Pokemon, Levitate no longer applies, so you can now hit it with ground type attacks. As for its stats, its HP is at a very good 110, meaning that it can be boosted very high. Unfortunately, though, its defenses are 60 for physical and 65 for special defense. So they're really not that high, but the HP can somewhat make up for that if you want to try and run a more defensive set. As for its physical attack, it is absolutely ridiculous at 135. Um, Without even putting any EVs into its attack stat and just giving it a plus attack nature, it already has over 300 attack, just to give you an idea of how much that is. So with max EVs, I believe it is boosted to over 400. If you want just like a reference point, it has the same base attack as Metagross, if you're curious. Um, as for its special attack, it's only 50, which obviously means you won't be doing a lot of damage with special moves. Its speed, however, is only 88, which isn't the best speed, but because it's so easy to set up Sandstorm and be able to use the ability Sand Throw, the 88 speed really is actually like really good for this Pokemon. But as you can just see by the abilities and the stats of this Pokemon, it is essentially meant to sweep teams under Sandstorm, and there is no question about its ability to do that. So let's get started by looking at its first moveset that I have for it today. So for this first set, we're going to give Doryuuzu an Adamant Nature to increase its physical attack, but decrease its special attack. And we're going to be using the ability Sand Throw so that hopefully when this Pokemon is on a team that uses Sandstorm, it will be able to have its speed doubled. For the EVs, we're going to put 128 EVs into HP to give you some more or resilience to opponent attacks. It also makes it so that this Pokemon can sweep more effectively since it won't die as easily if your opponent is running like a priority Mach Punch or something like that. As for its attack, we're going all the way to put 252 EVs into that attack to give you a base attack of over 400, which is absolutely ridiculous. And then we're going to put 128 EVs into speed. I don't know what the hell I was saying right there. To give it a nice speed that will be doubled under Sand Throw. The reason why we're not maxing out speed is because we really don't need to. So, just having those EVs into speed already gives you a ridiculous amount of speed. You can, or you are welcome to max that out though, instead of putting the EVs into HP, but I'd rather put them there just so I know that this Pokemon will be able to survive a little bit more. And we're going to be using the item leftovers so that obviously we can sweep for as long as possible by having a little bit of HP recovery at the end of every turn. As for the moveset, we're going to be using Swords Dance to boost your attack even higher than it already is, so now it'll be up over 800, and just one Swords Dance plus the double speed that you get from Sand Throw is pretty much like game for the opponent, or at least from what I've seen so far. But yeah, the moves you can utilize really effectively with this combination is Earthquake, obviously, because it'll be its main stab move. Rock Slide to also have good type coverage along with Earthquake and do damage to the flying types that Earthquake cannot touch. And then Brick Break to round off the set with some good fighting type attack that you can use well as well. Another option that you could run over Rock Slide, in my opinion, is Shadow Claw, just so you have the ghost and fighting dual attacking types, which is very useful since it's really not resisted by much or by anything. So that's another option over Rock Slide if you want to run that. But this set is essentially its main sweeping slash attacking set, or at least the main one that I could think of. And lastly today, we have this other set, which is a more defensive one that makes use of some other moves that Doryuuzu is able to learn, aside from just the main physical attacking ones. So we're still going to be giving it an adamant nature to increase its physical attack, but this time we're going to be using the ability Sand Strength since we aren't trying to be a sweeping set. So obviously we're going to be using rock and ground type moves that get the boost from Sand Strength in a sandstorm. As for the EVs, we're going to max out HP with 252 EVs for that. We're going to put 4 into attack just to give you one more attack point, and then we're going to max out your defense with 252 EVs for defense. Again, we're going to be using leftovers so that you can recover a little bit of health at the end of every turn. As for the moveset this time though, we're going to be first using Rapid Spin because this Pokemon is one of the fortunate 5th gen Pokemon that learns it. And it also probably, in my opinion, is one of the best rapid spinners in the new game just because of its typing and its ability to rapid spin safely because of its high HP and great resistances. The only other one that I think would be possibly the best rapid spinner is Tentacruel, but we're not going to worry about that right now. As for the next move, we're going to be using Iron Defense so that you can increase your physical defense even higher. With an adamant nature and 252 EVs into your physical defense, I believe it is somewhere around 217-ish, around there. So with an Iron Defense, now you have over 400 defense, so that's really useful. As for the moves, we're going to be using a combination of Rock Slide and Earthquake. Earthquake because obviously you'll get stabbed from it, and Rock Slide because it's another move that will get the boost from Sand Strength. So even though you aren't running max attack on this Pokemon or using Swords Dance or something like that, it's still very capable of dealing a lot of physical damage because of Sand Strength and your naturally high physical attack. But this is just a second option that you can use for Doryuuzu. It's more of like a utility slash I'm going to take a lot of hits set and deal a lot of damage at the same time. So it still can be effective, but I'm sure the majority of you would rather prefer the first one, which can take out every single Pokemon ever. I'm exaggerating, obviously. But the only thing that is really a big counter to Doryuuzu is any bulky water type, because its defenses aren't that great, and obviously bulky waters can take a lot of physical hits or something to that extent, and now a lot of them can learn boiling water, which will burn you and thus lower your attack. So if you're using this Pokemon, whether it be the first set or the second set, make sure that you try and get rid of those annoying water types first so that you can bring this Pokemon in, set up, and then have the rest of your team, your opponent's team, fall to it. Um, but that's it for Doryuuzu. So I hope you guys like this Pokemon. I think the picture in the background is completely awesome looking. I love the design of this Pokemon, and I hope you guys do too. So let me know what you think in the comments, and I will see you guys in my next video. So take care and farewell.